What's the difference between a narcissist and a dictator? Very little. Please keep watching and I'll explain. Dictators. When we think dictators, we think of historical figures. Some of the most famous being Hitler, Stalin, and Mussolini. Fascist dictators killed millions upon millions of people, war criminals. What do they have in common with the narcissist next door, the person that you might be in a relationship with, the person who might be raised you or did raise you, a sibling, a coworker, a boss? What is a dictatorship? A dictatorship is ruled by fear. A dictatorship is authoritarian. A dictatorship is my way or the highway. When you are in a relationship with a narcissist, you are not in a democracy. It is not collaborative. You are not working together. You are not a team. This person is trying to be in control. And if they are not in control or feel they're losing control, they will lash out and they will punish you. When you're growing up and being raised by a narcissistic parent or parents, you have to mold yourself. You either have to become invisible, you have to become a giver, you have to maybe grow up very quickly and contain their emotions for them. You learn very early on that you are not allowed to be you. You cannot be real. There's something about you that will set these people off. You learn and you start to internalize it, and you know somehow there are certain ways you have to behave to stay alive. In a global scale, if you're living in a country or living in a society that is ruled by a dictator, those rules apply just on a larger scale. So what we're talking about here is large scale versus small scale. So in the grand scheme of things, on a global scale, a big dictator, a dictator that's carrying out the terrible things they're carrying out, they just have a lot more enablers and a lot more flying monkeys and have more resources and have a bigger ambition. And so their goal is to do this on a larger scale. A narcissist, the person you're living with, the person you're in relationship with, is doing it on a smaller scale, and you are their victim. Or maybe if you have siblings and you're growing up in a household, you are the victim. Or if you are with a partner and you have children, then you are the victim of this dictator narcissist. So if we overlap the characteristics, dictators want their own way. Dictators need everyone to fall in line. Dictators get very angry and they punish, and so do narcissists. A narcissist wants you to pay attention to them. That's why when we ignore a narcissist or go no contact, we are taking away the one thing they want most in a world. They don't want to be loved, really. They would take being feared. They would take have you be terrified of them as long as you're there to give them supply. So on a big scale, that's just happening on a more global scale with a lot more people and obviously more fatal consequences. On a smaller scale, the consequences are, yes, sometimes they can be physical because an abuser can kill somebody. However, more likely, you're dealing with a psychic death. You're dealing with a type of spiritual death. When I'm talking about spirit, I don't mean necessarily in a religious sense. I just mean your inner self, that part of you, that spirited, living, the light. They're trying to snuff your light out. So think about it. In a larger scale, they are trying to snuff out everyone's light. They're trying to just, there was that saying about the big boot on someone's face and basically be pushed down forever and ever and ever. That's what a narcissist is trying to do when you're living in that smaller dictatorship. So I hope this all makes sense, that there is really very little between a dictator and the narcissist that you are in relationship with, whatever that relationship might look like. Now, to offer you some hope, what do you do? What do you do? You have more options than if you are living in a dictatorship country or society. You don't have a lot of options. Luckily, you do have some options if you are in a relationship. When you were a child, you didn't have options. However, when you're grown and you have that parent, you might have already gone into no contact with them or working towards that. You have tools you can use to remove yourself. If you are in a relationship with a narcissist, then you have tools to either get out of that relationship, or if you can't physically get out of that relationship, you can start pulling away emotionally. You can use skills and tools because you are now in a very different position. You do have some power. So that's the good news. The good news is that when you're living in a large-scale dictatorship, you have very few options. But when you're living in a small-scale dictatorship and a relational dictatorship, you do have options. It might not feel like you do have any. And this is where I always say, seek counseling. Find a good counselor who understands narcissism and the narcissistic dynamic, and they can help you. They can help you either get out of this relationship, start to heal from this relationship, use the tools and the strategies that you need to keep yourselves emotionally and maybe physically safe. And then if you're dealing with it where it's an ex-partner or partner, that's where a lawyer will come in, where you will need to get legal advice. So those are some of the tools and strategies. If you want more on this, please watch my videos on gray rock, no contact, limited contact, leaving relationships. There's plenty in my playlists, as well as overt versus covert narcissist, because that will also help you know what sort of narcissist you're dealing with. So I hope that this is clear about how a dictator is a narcissist and a narcissist is a dictator. I hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.